Hello everyone and welcome back to another Destiny 2 video. Today, well, we're talking about quite a bit, but mostly the fact that Lightfall still has a chance to redeem itself, at least in the eyes of the community. Now you're probably wondering, redeem from what? And before I get into that, this is your one and only spoiler warning. So if you have not played the campaign and you intend to, leave now or else the contents of it will be spoiled. And if you're not gone, by the time I'm done speaking right now, you're gonna get spoiled. Are you gone? Okay, thank you. The rest of you who stayed along, you hopefully have completed the campaign. If not, you're probably wondering what I'm about to complain about, and I'm going to try to keep the complaints to a minimum this video, because there are a lot going around, even though it's been a week as of this video coming out, a little more than a week since the release of Lightfall, and we've had about a week to digest everything and to think about it, and gives you a little bit of hindsight. So let's get into what that hindsight has provided. So I think the initial reaction to the ending of Lightfall's campaign was so bad just because so little was explained. And you can see why people would be upset with that. And the comparisons to Witch Queen are relevant. It's the most recent expansion aside from Lightfall, and it's what most people will compare it to. And for that being said, Witch Queen explained just about everything. How did Seraphim get the light? She infiltrated the tower via Osiris, learned its ways. Eventually she died after the events of Season of the Lost, and the Traveler gave her the light. And that was shown in a cutscene. So we were curious. That was the big mystery of Witch Queen, was how did Seraphim get the light and then imbue it upon her servants? And that cutscene enlightened us. However, with Lightfall, we're not enlightened. We know that the Witness was able to create the link between the Veil and the Traveler via our Ghost. Now, we can assume that the Ghost got this connection to the Witness when we ended the Shadowkeep campaign, and the Witness used us and our interest in the darkness, us eventually getting stasis, which was a gift from the Witness as well, could have also helped to create that link between the Ghost and the Witness. There are many theories about that. I don't know if any have been confirmed, so again, take that with a grain of salt. So again, we know the Witness created the link between our Ghost and himself to then create a link between the Veil and the Traveler, which created some kind of dimensional portal, or maybe it just opened the Traveler up, period. Again, we don't know. That's why a lot of people are confused. Now, I will refer everyone to Destiny Lore Vault, and this is a wonderful, wonderful YouTube channel that you should check out and give a hand. But they have put together a lot of the Jisoo Colorado voice lines that you can randomly get, that are randomly generated, as well as Nezarec's unintelligible whispers that you can hear throughout your time on Neomuna, as well as in submissions, terminal overload, etc., to kind of give the community a better sense of what's happening. And there's a lot of speculation about what the Nezarec voice lines could mean. There's a lot of speculation about what's happened to the Traveler, and in one particular Neomuna civil news segment that Colorado does, he calls the Veil the pale heart of the Traveler. Now it's been debunked that the veil is actually the pale heart of the Traveler, but that was some speculation, and of course it's dropped randomly, so anyone who doesn't read into the lore is going to think the veil is actually the heart of the Traveler, which doesn't really make sense, because if the Traveler is, you know, I don't know, to me it doesn't make sense. Like, why would you put your heart on a random city that can't fully protect it? You know what I mean? Anyways, not just that. However, that's a whole other topic I'd like to save for some other time. But again, ending unsatisfactory compared to Witch Queen, where we had everything explained to us, and there was very, very, very little mystery to unravel, and whatever was left, we did unravel, right? We eventually found out about Roke, and we found out about the looming threat the Witness posed with a cutscene, right? Kind of like I forget which Marvel movie it was that had Thanos like saying "Fine, I'll do it myself," but it might have been Civil War or something, I don't know. But that was Witch Queen, right? And Lightfall was not Infinity War, because we don't know what's happening. In Infinity War, you know what's going on, and you're gonna get that comparison a lot throughout the entire community, because it's the best comparison. So I think really Final Shape would be more of Infinity War plus Endgame mixed together, because we'll finally get explanations. Or Infinity War could just be this entire year leading up to Final Shape, which will then be Endgame. That's the best analogy I can make for Marvel fans or people who just know the synopsis of those movies. The redemption, though, exists, and it's real, because I am a sucker for the lore, and part of the reason why I was so very upset with the narrative being so lacking is because Witch Queen seemed to have gotten it right. And if you're a Destiny fan and you've been one for a long time, then you've noticed the same pattern that I have, that mediocrity always creeps back into the cycle. And when it rears its ugly head again, especially at the height of anticipation for what could have been the greatest DLC ever, at least the greatest campaign ever, the DLC, again, remains to be seen how well it will do. The raid can fix that a little bit. There could be post-raid stuff, as well as some other stuff as well that could, explain some things. And maybe then people will be better off with that. Personally, I have to wait and see how it's done, right? Secondly, again, I still will hold my ridicule that the campaign should have explained things better. And there are, again, I want to keep the complaints to a minimum, but you cannot have a campaign that's supposed to be about, so many things, right? And in my opinion, the narrative team had too much to tackle in this one campaign. It's probably part of the reason why they were like, yeah, we have to do Lightfall and Final Shape to end the Light Saga. Like, we can't do just one. We have to do 2 more expansions to finish telling the Dark and Light Saga. So they knew they had too much to tackle. And when they came up with this DLC and this story, they put too much in it, right? You have Osiris, you have Strand, you have the Witness, the Veil, the Traveler itself. And not only that, but then you add in post-campaign, right? You add in Nezarec, and during the campaign you add in the death of Rohan, which again felt like nothing, because we were not attached to the character. Nimbus as well, who I think is the best character that they've added in a very long time. He's just a little difficult to like at first because he's so jovial in times of very, very bleak circumstances. And you're kind of like, you probably shouldn't be offering a fist bump to Kaido when her dad was just killed. Like, I guess you could kind of make the argument that Kaido probably already made her peace with Callus dying when Duality was completed. She knew that the Witness had taken hold of her father and that any chance of regaining his favor or his sanity was lost. And so her death, or rather Callus's death, was simply something that had to happen. And even if it wasn't her to deal the final blow, she knew it had to be done. So maybe Nimbus's, lightheartedness in that situation was a little, inappropriate. However, in a DLC that is supposed to be very serious, you always need a character to be comedic relief. And I've heard this point made a lot. If you didn't like Finch, or you did like Finch from Witch Queen, Nimbus is essentially the same character, trying to add some comedic relief in a DLC that's about bad things happening and losing. But again, you take Witch Queen, and the main focus of Witch Queen was Savathun, and how the heck did she get the light? And eventually we would focus towards Roke a little bit, the Witness here and there. But aside from that, the main focus was Savathun. And that's what Lightfall should have focused mainly on: Callus, the Witness, and what the Veil was. Strand, I get it, you have to teach people, that's fine. But maybe you should have made the first 4 missions Strand. You get Strand halfway through the campaign, and then the rest of it is explaining what the heck the Witness wants, how he's trying to do it with the Veil, and so on. And Dado made this point, I agree with this point. I kind of liked doing the strike halfway through the campaign because it was a nice little break from Legendary. However, the main antagonist in this story are the Shadow Legion and Callus. And I get it, the Vex are really relevant in Neomuna. Again, that's something completely different that we'll talk about potentially later. But there's a lot of lore there with Neomuna and the Vex. But either way, the focus should have stayed on Callus, Shadow Legion, and so on. But it didn't. We were like, let's go do a Hypernet Current, do a strike. And this was just them introducing Nezarec. But it could have been something that was post-campaign, and they could have added another strike in that maybe explained something about the campaign. But they didn't do that. And I think that's, again, a major failure. So, I know I said I keep complaints to a minimum, and I am complaining a bit more. Remember, it's only because I enjoy this game a lot. And that's it. So, the seasonal story, alongside of the raid and the seasons to follow, can help to turn Lightfall around. I do think it is a poor way to shift the responsibility of seasons to explain what happened in the major DLCs, because that shouldn't happen. And I get it if they wanted to essentially use Lightfall as not a filler DLC, because there's stuff that happens that's important, and obviously Nezarec being back is pretty important. Not to mention Asher Mir is now relevant in the lore with some of the Vex stuff you do in the post-campaign stuff, and there's some really cool stuff there as well. I mean, there's so much cool lore stuff that's going on in this DLC. And it makes you feel so much more anguish if you're a fan of the lore, because the narrative of the story was just lacking. And you know that if things were explained a little bit better, or just explained at all, this DLC would be the best DLC. The Bungie has ever released, and it still has that potential, right? It's just not likely, right? It's a good DLC if the raid is good, if the post-campaign can help to give some context to what the heck happens. But if that doesn't happen, Lightfall takes a dark turn. No pun intended, but simply the truth. And you really hope that the raid can turn the tide a little bit, because a good raid can make or break a DLC sometimes, or at least the replayability of the DLC regardless. So we'll see what happens with that. If you haven't done some of these quests, I'm sorry again, I did spoil quite a bit, but you had your spoiler warning at the beginning, so anyways, if you guys could give this video a like to let me know you enjoyed this content, I greatly appreciate it. Also subscribe if you haven't already. A lot of people who watch my videos are not subscribed. Leave a comment down below what you think of Lightfall so far, and I just want to leave this as well for thought, right? Destiny is a game where one person can really enjoy doing one thing and another person can despise it. So don't be rude to someone if they don't like Lightfall, or if they do and you have the opposite opinion of them. Because at the end of the day, opinions are just opinions, and you have to respect everyone's, otherwise no one's going to respect yours. So just think about that. You can say that Lightfall being bad is a fact, but I think if you look at the evolution of Destiny DLCs, Lightfall is on the upper echelon. Is it one of the best? Well, again, that remains to be seen. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time.